Fossils place the earliest penguin relative at around 60 million years ago. This means the ancestors of the birds we see today survived the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. Though they were able to fight through a blazing meteor, what's at stake now may be a whole lot scarier than a burning rock. An even bigger burning rock. The planet we are living on today's temperatures are increasing, so even if the birds survived being impacted by a hot rock from space, it couldn't sustain itself if it lived on one. The species is now facing extreme dangers as its home and source of food both continue to diminish in size. With 95% of the oldest and thickest ice in the Arctic already gone, the region could be completely ice-free in the summer as soon as 2040, if emissions remain unchecked. With the speed at which these effects are coming to fruition, penguin populations haven't been able to adapt to the stark changes. Human activities are at the root of this phenomenon, with problems ranging from the industrial level to one's own personal actions. With slight adjustments to routine, and even larger adjustments in government and industry, penguins can survive Burning Rock 2.0. Today, the Arctic is warming twice as fast as anywhere on Earth. The sea ice there is declining by more than 10% every 10 years. As the ice melts, darker patches of the ocean start to emerge, eliminating the effect that previously cooled the poles, creating warmer air temperatures and in turn disrupting normal patterns of ocean circulation. These create a domino effect that threatens the species as a whole, and make it very hard for them to survive, let alone thrive, in their natural habitat. This disappearing sea ice also affects the penguin's food source. The birds feed primarily on fish, squid, and krill, a shrimp-like animal, which in turn feeds on zooplankton and phytoplankton, tiny organisms that grow on the underside of the ice. If the ice goes, so too will the plankton, causing a ripple effect through the food web that may starve the various species that penguins rely on as prey. If greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise at levels similar to today, causing temperatures to rise and Antarctic sea ice to shrink, penguin population numbers will diminish slowly until about 2040, after which they would decline at a much steeper rate as sea ice coverage drops below a usable threshold. And now that we understand how penguins are being affected on such a large scale, what's causing their environment to be so brutally disfigured? So, as most of you know, the greenhouse effect is the most prominent cause of climate change. I'm just going to go over a few of the gases that are very important to the climate story. CO2, a minor but very important component of the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, is released through natural processes, such as respiration and volcanic eruptions, and through human activities such as deforestation and burning fossil fuels. Next, methane, a hydrocarbon gas produced both through natural sources and human activities, including the decomposition of waste in landfills, agriculture, and especially in rice cultivation, as well as in ruminant digestion and manure management associated with domestic livestock. And lastly, nitrous oxide, a powerful greenhouse gas produced by soil cultivation practices, especially the use of commercial and organic fertilizers, fossil fuel combustion, nitric acid production, and biomass burning. It's also important to mention that oil companies do extract and market the coal we use, but to be clear, it's the consumers that actually burn and demand the fossil fuels that these companies provide. The companies may have some responsibility for their product, for lobbying in favor of the carbon economy, for getting subsidies, and arguing for subsidies. But some responsibility ought to fall on individuals, households, and corporations. What the companies do is produce the fuels, extract and market the fuels so that we can use them. It's the consumers that produce the carbon dioxide. They may be corporations, airlines, shipping lines, household utilities. It's all distributed. Emissions directly produced by gas, oil, and coal companies amount to about 10% of fossil fuel emissions. 90% are from their products. So, even with these things intrinsically involved in our society, there are several ways in which a cause can turn into a solution. There are many ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the industrial sector, including energy efficiency, fuel switching, combined heat and power, use of renewable energy, and more efficient use and recycling of materials. Many industrial processes have no existing low-emission alternative and will require carbon capture and storage to reduce emissions over the long term. The methane rule, which was adopted in May of 2016, required operators of new oil and gas wells to find and repair leaks, capture natural gas from the completion of hydraulically fractured oil and gas wells, and limit emissions from new and modified pneumatic pumps. At the time, the EPA estimated this rule could prevent the emission of 510,000 short tons of methane in 2025, or the equivalent of 11 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. And lastly, you may be wondering what you can do to help. Individual action on climate change can include personal choices in many areas, such as diet, means of long and short distance travel, household energy use, consumption of goods and services, and family size. It's probably reduced our household footprint from 24,000 pounds of CO2 per year, on average, and if you take the average household in the United States. A lot of things are free to do. We don't have to brush our teeth or shave with hot water running or take very long showers. Turning off unneeded light, air drying clothes in the summer, those kinds of things are free, and they save several hundred pounds in CO2 emissions per year. And so, penguin populations will continue to struggle and only get worse if the current situation stays as it is. With most emissions out of individual control and in the hands of the industry, it may seem difficult to make a change large enough to constitute the revitalization of the penguins. Though personal choices matter, it is important to think cautiously and be more aware of what we as individuals are giving off to the environment. Ride your bike to work on a nice day instead of your car. Eat less meat. Get involved in your local government. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather live on a decently warm rock rather than a scorching hot one. And I'm sure the penguins would agree with me.